The start of the inquiry into breaches of hotel quarantine has been delayed in light of the Stage 4 restrictions. Queensland has reimposed a hard border closure on New South Wales, with the ACT also added to the growing COVID-19 blacklist. The ban will take effect from 1 a.m. on Saturday. There'll be limited exemptions for freight and for people who live in border communities. The death toll from the explosion in Beirut has risen above 100, with at least 4,000 people injured. Hospitals in the Lebanese capital are struggling to cope, while emergency workers continue to search for those missing after thousands of tonnes of ammonium nitrate exploded in the city. The President has declared 3 days of mourning. Virgin Australia says it can't rule out more job cuts as the airline re-emerges as a slimmed-down carrier as part of a rescue deal. 3,000 workers will be made redundant as Virgin relaunches as a full-service carrier without its budget airline Tiger Air. 6,000 employees will remain, but Virgin hopes to increase staff numbers once the market recovers. Well, federal health authorities say Victoria's coronavirus case numbers could rise before they fall. Victoria has recorded its highest number of daily COVID-19 cases, with 725 new infections in the past 24 hours. It's also recorded its highest daily death toll, with 15 people dying overnight. Deputy Chief Medical Officer Michael Kidd says it reinforces the importance of Stage 4 restrictions in Melbourne.
Please take these requirements very seriously. If you fail to do so, you are putting at risk the lives of other people. We know that the majority of people diagnosed with COVID-19 will not require hospitalisation, but if you are infected with COVID-19 and you are now in home isolation, I strongly recommend that you reach out to your general practitioner using telehealth, either by telephone or video call, and let your GP know that you've been diagnosed with COVID-19, and then remain in regular contact with your general practitioner while you're in isolation. This is especially important to reach out if you notice a change in your symptoms, particularly if you start to spike a fever or if you start to have increasing difficulty with your breathing. A reminder that in some cases your GP will have been notified by the laboratory which conducted your test that you have been diagnosed with COVID-19, but it may be that your GP has not been notified. So please don't assume that your general practitioner knows you've been diagnosed with COVID-19. Please be proactive and reach out to her or to him. This is a stark reminder that while most of the deaths from COVID-19 are in older people, COVID-19 infection can be fatal to anyone at any age. Our thoughts are with those who have lost their lives to COVID-19 and to their grieving family members and friends.
Western Australia has 1 new case of COVID-19. An overseas traveller in hotel quarantine has tested positive, taking the number of active cases in the state to 7. The WA Premier says Queensland's hard border arrangements may have an impact on West Australians trying to come home. Mark McGowan says WA residents have had plenty of time to return to the state.
This is the reality of where we're at. If you want to be in Western Australia, you should have come home before now. That's what should have happened. I mean, we've been going through this now for 6 months. I mean, sometimes I think people haven't listened or haven't wanted to listen, or they think the rules are there for everyone else, but not them. And so just say to everyone, you know, we're trying to protect the state of Western Australia and keep people alive. And so I just urge anyone over east, if you wanted to come to Western Australia, please reconsider.
Virgin Australia's boss says he can't rule out more job cuts as the airline re-emerges as a slimmed-down carrier as part of a rescue deal. Virgin Australia is to make 3,000 people redundant. It's roughly a third of its workforce, under plans by the airline's new owners, Bain Capital. 6,000 staff will remain, but Virgin hopes to increase that to 8,000 once the market recovers from the coronavirus pandemic. Virgin Chief Executive Paul Scurrett says the virus has devastated the airline industry, forcing many out of work.
We can't predict when we're going to get back to those sorts of job numbers. That is 100% dependent on the demand coming back, and will be at a time where the borders are freely open again. So it is our aspiration to get back there, but nobody can predict when that might happen. It's going to be a tough period. How long that goes for, nobody can predict. JobKeeper goes to the end of March, which provides some certainty for people who have stood down. But we are doing everything we can to make sure we play our role in eliminating or containing the spread through the way we are operating at the moment.
A massive explosion has torn through the port of the Lebanese capital, Beirut, destroying many buildings and killing at least 100 people and injuring thousands more. The blast destroyed homes and offices, shattering windows, with a large mushroom cloud erupting above the city. The cause is not yet clear, but the Lebanese government says it occurred at a warehouse used to store confiscated explosive chemicals. The scale of the explosion is astonishing. The shockwave generated by the blast registered as a 3.5 magnitude earthquake. Buildings were destroyed kilometres from the site, and there are reports structures were damaged up to 10 kilometres away, meaning most of the capital was affected. Even people in Cyprus, which sits 200 kilometres off the coast, heard the explosion. Lebanese officials say about 2,750 tonnes of confiscated ammonium nitrate, a highly explosive material, was being stored at the site without safety measures. The President, Michael Aoun, said it was unacceptable the chemical stockpile had been there for 6 years. And we can show you again some live pictures from the city of Beirut as the devastation of the blast becomes clearer this morning. It is approaching 11 a.m. in the capital. Rescuers continue to search the widespread rubble for survivors. And Australians concerned about loved ones in Beirut can call the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade on 1300 555 135. 3 men have been winched to safety after their boat began to sink off the New South Wales south coast. The 3 crew members made it into their life raft after abandoning their sinking fishing vessel 15 nautical miles off Bass Point, south of Shell Harbour. Kelly Fuller reports.
It's understood the 3 men from Coffs Harbour had anchored off the coast of Shell Harbour about 15 nautical miles overnight. When they woke this morning, they lifted anchor and they noticed that their boat was in some kind of trouble and taking on water fast. They evacuated the boat onto their life raft and called for emergency help. They activated their emergency beacon. Not long after that, rescue helicopters from ambulance crews arrived and performed a really dramatic rescue where individually the 3 men were winched from the cold waters off the coast here up into a helicopter. Thankfully, all the men were well. None of them were harmed in any way, and ambulance crews have told us it was an incredibly lucky rescue and the men were well prepared.
It was a challenging rescue, assisted fortunately through the early activation by the fishermen with the appropriate equipment, early distress call to Police Maritime, as well as activation of their appropriate navigation equipment. Made it easy to locate them and get them in a timely manner.
After being winched to the helicopters, they were taken to a small oval just behind Shell Harbour Surf Life Club, where they were just checked over again. They've been taken to a local hospital for a fresh change of clothes, where they'll be reunited with their family. Local fishermen have told us today that this spot, about 15 nautical miles off, is a great spot for tuna at the moment, and local anglers are trying to take advantage of that. But overall, there's a sense that this is a very lucky rescue, and the men are very grateful for the speed in which the rescue crews arrived and took them to safety.
And most of us have been spending a lot more time at home this year. Hopefully not all of that time has been focused on work. Perhaps you've been enjoying a new television series or discovered some new books, or maybe a new author. Emily Rodder is a celebrated Australian children's book writer whose titles include the Del Toro Quest series. Her latest book, Beady Bold and the Yum Yams to Monty Island, has been released this week. And Emily joins us now. Good afternoon and welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
I only just managed to get my mouth around your latest title. Do you have
Yes.
do you have to be
What
young
a
at
mouthful.
do you have to be young at heart to write children's literature?
Yes, young at heart would be one word for it, I guess. These books are for the slightly younger age group than I usually write for, actually. I usually write for, like Del Toro Quest, say 8 up. But I wanted to write something for the younger age group, like 5 to 8. And so the Monty's Island series is for those kids. And I must say it's been fantastically good fun.
And I believe that these books are actually slightly longer and more complex in plot than others that are targeted towards that particular age group. Do you think they've been undercatered for in the past?
Oh, I think that there are many, many children who may not necessarily be able to read particularly well or write particularly